The following program deals with controversial subjects. The theories expressed are not the only possible interpretation. The viewer is invited to make a judgment based on all available information. Tonight on Sightings.
It was not a natural phenomenon. It was some sort of a manned craft.
We investigate a frightening UFO encounter that may have become a government cover-up. Then, in a Sightings exclusive, have we captured Bigfoot on videotape?
This is the most compelling evidence to date that there is a Sasquatch.
Welcome to Sightings. I'm Tim White. If there really have been UFO landings in the United States, why isn't there any hard evidence? Why haven't UFOs appeared on radar? Ufologists answer that our government has purposely and systematically suppressed information about alien spacecraft. And they point to an astonishing case on a U.S. military base in Great Britain. For nearly 50 years, UFO researchers have maintained that the U.S. government has systematically withheld information about encounters with aliens. Such contact may have occurred in Roswell, New Mexico in 1947. The U.S. government says it never happened. Some believe that alien technology is currently being tested in the notorious and top-secret Area 51 in the Nevada desert. The U.S. government refuses to comment. But under the authority of the Freedom of Information Act, previously classified documents have been released. They shed light on what may have been an intentional U.S. government cover-up of UFO contact occurring in England in 1980. The 81st Tactical Fighter Wing of the U.S. Air Force was located 60 miles northeast of London, between the towns of Bentwaters and Woodbridge. It was here on December 26, 1980, members of base security claimed to have witnessed one of the most bizarre events in UFO history.
The whole thing was weird. It just didn't seem right.
Airman First Class John Burroughs and his partner were on a routine patrol around the base perimeter when they spotted unusual activity in the nearby woods.
My partner initially saw some strange lights. So we went ahead and we looked at each other and we decided we better kind of see what's going on because it didn't seem normal.
At the very same moment, the control tower at London's Heathrow Airport reported the sudden appearance of several unidentified flying objects on radar.
I think if we would have been armed, we might have been fired on it. I mean, it really, there was whatever it was, scared us.
I was going to bed and through the side windows here, I saw these lights.
Local resident Jerry Harris was one of a handful of civilians who reported strange phenomena that night. He recalls the encounter.
Well, they moved sort of sideways, this way, and then they'd go down and they'd come back up again. Most peculiar.
The next morning, British police investigated the area around the alleged sighting. They found 3 circular impressions in the ground, exactly 12 feet apart, forming a perfect equilateral triangle. The surrounding trees had been damaged.
It looked like something had landed there, came straight down through the trees, and rested long enough to leave 3-4-inch indentations in the ground.
I was kind of hoping we'd go out there and we wouldn't find anything. And we just, it'd be like, because if you can't explain it, it bothers you.
The next night, strange lights were reported again. Deputy Base Commander Colonel Charles Holt quickly assembled a special investigative team to search the woods.
Lights were observed moving in geometric patterns, mainly in squares, everything traveling at right angles. They'd go for a set distance and then do a sharp left or right bank.
Colonel Holt and his team not only witnessed the light phenomenon, but they were also able to document their sightings on film and audio tape. Listen to part of Holt's recording at the scene.
Here he comes from the south. He's coming toward us now. Now we're observing what appears to be a beam coming down to the ground. It's unreal. 330, 0330, and the objects are still in the sky, although the one to the south looks like it's losing a little bit of altitude. We're turning around, heading back toward the base.
In the distance, you could see lights flying around, and you could see like a stream of white light that came down to the ground.
Soon after that initial sighting, another strange UFO appeared to the airmen, a single red hovering light.
We followed it for quite a distance, 2-3 miles. All the time it stayed just a bit ahead of us.
Then, the most extraordinary event of the night occurred.
It looked like a shaft of light came down from the sky. It was momentary, couldn't have lasted more than 5 seconds. But I observed it, Colonel Halt observed it, and 2 other individuals with us observed it.
It was like, it hurt your eyes almost, it was so bright.
Because of this inexplicable encounter, a special unit from European headquarters was dispatched to Bentwaters to take over the investigation.
We were told that whatever we saw out there from then on, we were not to call in on the radio or report in, that people were aware of that something had happened or something could still be going on.
The team confiscated all physical evidence of the encounter, including Colonel Halt's tape recordings, films, and memos.
All of that material was gathered up. It was considered technical intelligence. Therefore, it went to Ramstein Air Force Base.
Now retired from Army intelligence, Clifford Stone was stationed at Hanau, West Germany at the time of the Bentwaters investigation. According to Stone, news about the UFO landing spread like wildfire.
I know that they considered that craft to be under intelligent control, and they did not consider that intelligence to be of this earth.
With so many credible witnesses, there's little doubt that something anomalous occurred that night. But what was it?
There was no doubt it was an unidentified flying object, which is what a UFO is. The blue lights that we saw and what they were capable of doing could lead you to believe possibly that they were intelligent.
It was not a natural phenomenon. It was some sort of a manned or unmanned craft, and it was being controlled by someone.
Despite so much eyewitness testimony, skeptics maintain the encounter was not the result of otherworldly phenomena.
Let's say that this wasn't a UFO incident. What is it that can cause highly trained Air Force security policemen who are armed to the teeth with automatic weapons, grenade launchers, pistols, what can cause them to run away from a light in the woods?
Chuck DeCaro was a Defense Department correspondent for CNN who traveled to England to research the Bentwaters incident. He's heard many explanations for the strange lights.
This was an important base. It had a nuclear weapons storage dump. If these guys were hallucinating, as some debunkers have claimed, what were they doing guarding those self-same nuclear weapons the next day and the next week?
Others have speculated that the UFO was a top-secret U.S. military aircraft used to test the responses of base security forces.
We exercised on a regular basis through every possible contingency at the ground troops, and there was no need for the Air Force to come up with something extra.
There is another possibility involving technology known as psychotronic or radio frequency weapons.
There are those experts in the area of radio frequency weapons who say that RF energy can be delivered in such a form as to have an effect on human psychology or physiology.
Sightings of unexplained lights identical to those reported at Bentwaters had also been reported in the former Soviet Union. Experts suggest these reports may be the result of experiments using similar weaponry. Unfortunately, none of these theories can be fully explored because the U.S. Air Force has refused to acknowledge that any encounters occurred. Some believe there's been a cover-up.
I ended up going to Korea, and I can't prove it, but I really wasn't due for an assignment, and they kind of got me out of here in a hurry.
Any attempt to gather physical evidence at the site is now impossible. The alleged landing site has been destroyed. When our sightings crew visited Bentwaters, this was all that remained of the woods.
All that there, yes, the whole lot, 10,000 acres, was absolutely devastated.
British UFO researcher Brenda Butler has been investigating the Bentwaters sighting since 1981. She claims that her efforts have been sabotaged by the U.S. and British governments.
The Ministry of Defence have been on to us, telling us to keep quiet and, not to say anything about it. What we can't understand is why this case, when all the other cases we've been on, we've been allowed to talk about it.
I have no doubt that our government and other governments are withholding information. They don't know what's going on, or if they do, they're not willing to share that information with the general populace. And sooner or later, it's all going to come out.
It wasn't until one of the base commander's top secret memos was released in 1983 that any information about the Bentwaters UFOs was made public. The U.S. Air Force still refuses to comment.
Could it have been a weapons experiment? Possibly. Could it have been a visitation from a UFO? Possibly. Is there a cover-up? Probably. Is there more to come from the Bentwaters incident? You bet.
The United States Air Force continues to deny that a UFO encounter occurred at Bentwaters. Without the military's cooperation, the documents obtained through the Freedom of Information Act remain just one more tantalizing clue for scores of conspiracy theorists. They remain convinced that the government has top secret UFO information and plans to keep it that way.
Coming up, is this really a Bigfoot captured on videotape?
This is the most compelling evidence to date that there is a Sasquatch.
A Sightings exclusive next.
Whether you know it as Sasquatch or Bigfoot, there is evidence that points to the existence of an enormous creature, half man, half ape. It could be the elusive missing link. Anthropologists are studying footprints, handprints, and now a new film exclusive to Sightings that appears to some to be authentic. Serious researchers won't give up their quest for proof that Bigfoot is a living, breathing creature stalking the woods of North America. Sightings has brought you startling footage before, and now a surge in reports brings new information about this elusive monster. There are new eyewitness accounts, plaster footprints, photographs, and this exclusive videotape.
This is the most compelling evidence to date that there is a Sasquatch.
Researchers have now discovered what they believe is a pattern of Bigfoot activity, concentrated in eastern Washington state near the Idaho border. With over 50 sightings in the past year, local police here take Bigfoot reports seriously. One officer, Michael Bisbee, took us to the site of his own encounter.
Early evening, about 6:30, 7 o'clock, I was on patrol in an area known as McCormick Ridge. And this big black object was walking away from me, walking into the timber. I really didn't know what it was.
I didn't really get a good look at him. He was running so fast. There's no human could run that fast.
My boss got nervous, you know, and after we started working again, he was worried about it trying to sneak around and trying to come, you know, do something to us, you know. Sneak attack is what he said.
Based on the high concentration of sightings here, our investigative team mounted an expedition into the area, headed by researcher Cliff Crook. Cliff and his partner Dean Smith believe that only a small, unobtrusive team would have any chance of capturing a Bigfoot on film. It was just this kind of expedition, led by Roger Patterson in 1967, that resulted in a startling piece of evidence. This 16mm film is believed to be the only authenticated Bigfoot footage to date. Patterson's partner, Bob Gimlin, was there.
When we came upon the creature, it was standing still by the creek. It immediately turned around and started to walk away. There is no way that this could ever be falsified or any man could be in a suit because of the movement of the muscle underneath the hair.
The Patterson film is the second best evidence after some footprints.
Professor Grover Krantz heads the anthropology department at Washington State University. His scholarly research concludes that Bigfoot is real.
This is one of the most interesting ones. It's a 14.5-inch track. It shows what we call dermal ridges, the little fingerprint type ridges. And these have been studied by police fingerprint experts, and no one's found any flaw in any of them. This one is the imprint of some knuckles of the right hand. You can see it's substantially larger than my hand, and this is the thumb over here. The individual apparently stumbled, hit the hand on the ground, and left the imprint, and the cast was made of those 4 digits curled around, and the 5th digit, the thumb, coming out to the side. Right here is the thumbnail, the edge of the thumbnail.
Professor Krantz divides his research time between lab study and expeditions into the field. He is constantly searching for new evidence to support his theories. His findings indicate that Bigfoot is nocturnal, a creature of the night. Sightings brought a specially equipped starlight filter into the research area. we hoped that this night vision feature would increase our chances of finding an actual Bigfoot. Unfortunately, bad weather forced us to end the investigation before any sightings occurred. Soon after our team left the area, an anonymous videotape arrived with a Washington State postmark. There are those who believe this is actual footage of a small, possibly female Bigfoot. The creature appears in 2 sections of this VHS tape. The tape is played in its entirety. Here, the supposed Bigfoot moves behind some trees and then, unexpectedly, turns toward the camera. Washington-based photo analyst Mike Stusser studied this videotape for sightings.
The most compelling evidence in the tape is as simple as a head turn. In hoaxes, you see an animal that may be someone in a suit move with their head and their neck, and real Bigfoot specimens would move as a gorilla with their entire torso, and their head would move similarly.
The typical ape posture has the shoulders carried very high and the mouth and the jaw is lower than the shoulder. So if an ape wants to turn its head, its jaw runs into its shoulder. The creature that Patterson watched turned its head, and then the shoulder went with it in what you, just as what you would expect with an ape.
In the Patterson footage, you can see that the animal's walking straight forward, but then when he turns to see the cameraman, his entire body, his torso and all, moves up and to the right. Here in the most recent Washington footage, you've got the animal crouched in a clearing here, and then as it starts to look towards the camera person, its entire torso comes up and to the left. Its whole body, not just the neck, but up and to the left. Very similar to the Patterson footage.
Is this evidence of the legendary missing link? Experts are divided, but they all continue to gather evidence. Although there is no proof positive that Bigfoot exists, to many the circumstantial evidence is overwhelming, and researchers remain dedicated to finding that one piece of hard evidence that will finally lay the controversy to rest.
Joining us now is Richard Greenwell, Secretary for the International Society of Cryptozoology. Richard has conducted numerous expeditions in search of Bigfoot and the Loch Ness Monster. Richard, thanks for joining us. You've had a chance to look now at the new Bigfoot footage. What do you make of it? Is it the real thing or a hoax?
I'd say probably a hoax. For one thing, the supposed creature looks very much like a costume to me. Its gait and movement is wrong. The gait is very human-like, and the movement is very slow.
What else would you need to see to be sure that one exists?
Well, the only evidence that's going to convince the zoologists and the anthropologists is physical remains, bones, or a part of an animal, or a complete animal, dead or alive. That's the bottom line.
Is there any sort of photographic evidence or videotape evidence that you would find persuasive?
If there was film footage that was in conjunction with extremely good eyewitness testimony from reliable people, then that would be a very strong case. Otherwise, when it's a videotape that comes in, you don't know who took it or it's questionable, has very little value.
If you were a betting man, Richard, what would you say the odds are that there is a Bigfoot?
Well, I may get into trouble for this, but I'd say, in my opinion, based on all the evidence I've looked at and the 3,000 reports, I would say that the odds are just over 50% that there is a living Sasquatch or Bigfoot.
Richard Greenwell, thank you very much for being with us. And we will be back with more sightings in just a moment.
Coming up, a rash of UFO sightings in Wisconsin leads to a special investigation.
I believe that there's an intelligent life force out there somewhere, and I think it's visiting.
We receive home videos from all over North America of what viewers believe are UFOs. Recently, we received 3 separate tapes from 3 different individuals who don't know each other. Yet they all shot the same thing, unidentified flying objects over Wisconsin.
A bright light outside of Julie Graceffa's bedroom window compelled her to grab her camcorder and shoot into the Milwaukee night.
I did begin to believe that they did want me to film them for some purpose, for some reason.
Kevin Crump was driving his grandmother home when he grabbed his video camera.
At first I thought it was a plane, but then when I slowed down and we looked, it shot out a blue light out of the back end. and we knew then it couldn't have been a plane.
A friend's phone call sent Beaver Dam resident Carol Putz into her yard with camera in tow.
I believe that there's an intelligent life force out there somewhere, and I think it's visiting.
Our dispatch center received about 12 calls from people stating that they had too seen these unexplainable lights in the sky. There's no doubt in my mind that there was something there.
Those first calls came in on January 31st, 1993. Two sheriff's deputies tracked the strange lights for more than 20 minutes as they headed west, then sharply south into neighboring Jefferson County.
What we've had with these recent sightings in Wisconsin are credible people seeing incredible things. And it's also an added plus when the individuals that are reporting are trained observers.
I believe the credibility of the people. I believe my deputies that they did see something. It's unexplained at this time. And as far as I'm concerned, I won't close it out until we have an answer to it.
And if that answer is visitors from another planet, at least one witness welcomes the possibility of an alien encounter.
Who says we're the only life forms around? Something or somebody living has got to be somewhere else. You know, we're not that special.
The number of sightings in Wisconsin has caused some residents to believe their area has been chosen for a close encounter of the third kind.
I don't want to be alone in it anymore. I want other people to see it now. I want witnesses with me. It's getting to be a little scary, the fact this thing is out here every night. And when is it going to go away? Is it going to be here forever or what?
If you've sighted what you believe to be a UFO, or if you've captured on film or videotape any type of paranormal activity, our Sightings investigative team wants to know about it.
If you've had a paranormal experience, call the Sightings hotline at 1-900-740-SIGHT. That's 1-900-740-SITE. Each call 75 cents a minute. Average call lasts 2 minutes, and you must be 18 years or older. Again, the Sightings hotline number is 1-900-740-7483.
Join us next time for new investigations into the unexplained. For Sightings, I'm Tim White.
Stay tuned for more Sightings. And tomorrow, ride shotgun through the streets of Phoenix on an all-new Cops, part of a full hour. Then, a skydiver attempts a bungee jump at 10,000 feet. But when the cord snaps in midair, you'll experience his heart-stopping free fall on an all-new Code 3, part of a full hour tomorrow.